Hello everyone and welcome back to another tier list video. Today we're going to be ranking all of the albums and mixtapes by Young Lean. It's been a while since I've uploaded, that's like totally entirely my fault, but anyways, we're back on it. Who knows how long that'll last. But anyways, let's just jump right into this. Young Lean is one of my favorite artists. He's always been a very forward-thinking, innovative artist that's never afraid to experiment, and I think that's resulted in some very interesting projects from him over the years. I don't necessarily like all of what he's put out, but I do appreciate it. And today we're going to be ranking all of his studio albums, mixtapes, whatever. We're not going to be including the Lavender single slash EP, whatever you want to call it, because it's literally 2 tracks. I don't think it really needs to be included on the tier list, but I will say that they're both very good tracks and it's a very cool project. Kyoto especially is a great song. But anyway, let's just start at the beginning with his debut mixtape, Unknown Death 2002, which didn't release in 2002. That's just in the name. It actually came out in 2013. The reception of this mixtape at the time it released was very mixed because people didn't really understand his style. He very much pioneered this sort of style. He was one of the earliest adopters of that sort of cloud rap, Drain Gang type of sound. And this mixtape is very influential and has been very important in the years since its release. It's quite hard to get into as a first-time listener of Young Lean. And for me, this was the first full project I listened to from him because I kind of went through his discography in chronological order. But while I do regret doing it like that, I think coming back through his discography and listening to it more and more over time, I really appreciate this project now, and I really appreciate what he was doing here. He's not ever been the most technically skilled rapper or anywhere close to a good singer. But the thing is that he has charm, he has interesting lyricism, and he has a very specific style that he brings to the table, and that's what I really appreciate him for. So I think this is an amazing project, even if maybe if this was going to be your introduction to Young Lean, you might think, what on earth is going on here? But I think if you can really get into him as an artist, you can learn to appreciate this project a lot and what he was bringing to the table here. I would say to name some favorite tracks on here, it has to be Night Vision, and that's an amazing song. Gatorade, Lemonade. A really cool one is Princess Daisy, which is, it almost has like a boom bap beat behind it, and he's just kind of straight rapping over it, which is not something you really expect from Young Lean, or we've seen from him much since. So I think that's a really interesting song, and I pretty much like every song on here. I think, like I said, it took me a while to like every song on here, but over time I've really developed a love for this project. Once again, not anywhere close to his best. I would put it around a 7 out of 10. And I'm gonna slot it in the B tier. So then we have his debut album, Unknown Memory, sort of a follow-up project to Unknown Death. And I think this project basically takes a much more synthy, airy, kind of drugged out, atmospheric feel than Unknown Death. It feels more polished in that way, but also I think maybe it loses a little bit of the charm that Unknown Death has, which is not to say that I dislike Unknown Memory, because I think this is a great project as well, and I think there's still a lot of strong tracks on here, and it's one that I definitely return to and definitely really appreciate its sound just for what's going on here, like especially like the drowned out sort of spacey reverbed auto-tune vocals on here, and the very random early Travis Scott feature that he has on here, which I will say Ghost Town with Travis Scott is one of my favorite tracks on here. I also love Yoshi City, Blinded, which is the first real track after the little instrumental intro. I also really appreciate some of the little instrumental tracks on here, like Dog Walk and Help. You know what, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the name of the outro because I don't speak Swedish. Lean World. Lean World is probably my favorite track on this song, on this project. It's just really one of the first showings of his ability to create very emotional tracks despite his particular style, and really shine through that style and create something very interesting and very artistic. So yeah, like I said, I maybe don't enjoy this project as much as I enjoy Unknown Death, but I still think this is a very good project. It's gonna go in the B tier as well, but just below Unknown Death. Okay, so next in 2016 we have his second studio album, Warlord, and You know, this is easily his most like rap focused album. This takes very much to directly trap and cloud rap's direction. But I think that really is to its benefit and makes it really stand out in his discography as one of the most interesting projects he's ever done, because something about it is not a sound he has really gone back to, and it's just full of bangers. Like, this project is infinitely really listenable. There's so many awesome tracks on here. To name a few: Immortal, AF1s, Afghanistan, Highway Patrol with Blade. It's a really cool album, and one of my favorites. I would say this is it's like a high 7 to an 8. I would put it in the A tier. It's definitely above these two for me. I really appreciate Warlord. And to follow up Warlord, we have a little 8-track mixtape, which is Frost God, which has a similar sort of straight cloud rap style in a more condensed format. And this is another really fun project. Sure, it's not one of my favorites, but I still think it's really quite good. And I would definitely push it to be in the upper echelon of his projects, although it doesn't beat Warlord for me. We'll get to the ranking in a sec. Just to name favorite tracks: Hennessy and Sailor Moon with Blade. I really always appreciate his collaborations with Blade. Crystal City with ASAP Ferg as well. And Back at It, the first track. And Hop Out with, I think the guy's name is Lucaline. I don't know how you actually pronounce it, so I'm not even going to try. Anyway, I would put Frost God in the A tier. You know, it's like high 7 to an 8, similar to Warlord, but not as good as Warlord for me. So that's where I'm going to place it. Then in 2017, we have Stranger, his third studio album, and quite possibly my favorite project from him. You know, it's debatable between this and Stars for me, but I really like both of them. And Stranger is, you know, his most emotional project. It's his most interesting project in terms of the production, and it's where he seems to be at his most kind of creative and artistic in terms of his music. And I just really appreciate the style on this project and just the sort of depressive, wintry feel to it. Probably my favorite Young Lean song ever is Red Bottom Sky, the second track on here. That is one among many of my favorite songs on here. Agony is an amazing song, probably one of the most emotional and potent Young Lean songs, just in terms of its message and the feeling that it brings forward. Hunting My Own Skin is amazing. Salute Pac-Man, Silver Arrows, Metallic Intuition. I really appreciate the first half of this album, and I really appreciate this whole album. I think this album's amazing. It's probably my favorite album from him. It's like a 9, and it's gonna go straight to the top of the S tier. So a year after Stranger, in 2018, he released Poison Ivy. This is another 8-track mixtape that, similarly to Frost God, sort of just furthers the sound of Stranger, but I think this one has less of the sort of subdued feel of Stranger and is more about sort of bangers. But I really like this project. I think it's very concise. It's very well kind of put together in the fact that it's only 8 tracks and all 8 tracks are amazing. My favorite track on here is Happy Feet and Friday the 13th. I mean, there's not any bad tracks on here, but there is only 8 tracks on here. So although it may be heresy, I'm probably going to say that I kind of enjoy this project a little more than I do Warlord, which is not to say that I think either project is better than the other. I think they're both great, but for me, I'm gonna place it there just because, I don't know, I listen to this project more, I come back to this project more, and I appreciate the style of this project more. Another album that is arguably his best would be Stars, and this project, his 2020 album, is easily his most cohesive, most well put together project, and the one with sort of the most mainstream appeal, I guess you could say, but also some of my favorite tracks from him, especially when he was getting into some more experimental stuff on here, like the song My Agenda, which is so like dirty and grimy, sounds almost kind of, okay, I was going to make a Death Grips comparison, I'm not making a Death Grips comparison. It doesn't sound like Death Grips, but B, that's just corny. But it is an amazing song, and it's an amazing album. Yayo is an amazing track. It's such a shame that the Playboy Carti feature that was originally going to be on there got cut from the released album and only put on the vinyl version. Boy Life in EU is awesome, driven by this really cool, like, industrial beat almost. But it's like industrial mixed with Young Lean's usual sound. Pikachu is my favorite, just kind of straight rap track on here, and it has a really strong chorus. And overall, I just think this is a really strong project. It really shows his progression as an artist and really shows how he's able to, like, put together a project like this now that probably most people would have laughed at the idea of someone praising a Young Lean project as highly as I am now when, like, Unknown Memory or Lavender came out, because he was seen as a bit of a joke back then. But he really pioneered a sound, and this is him just perfecting that sound. And so while maybe I don't appreciate it as much as Stranger, I would put it still in the S tier, just a little bit below it. And then we come to his most recent project, Stars. And while I enjoy a lot of the songs on Stars, I still think this project was quite a big letdown for me. This is easily probably my least favorite Young Lean project. This mixtape is, you know, sort of another shorter project. I say shorter, it's 12 tracks. It's longer than Frost God or Poison Ivy. But I think he just lost a bit of the charm that he used to have on this project, and he kind of got maybe too caught up in the idea of him not needing to be a good singer, to the point where his singing seems to be actively worse on this project than it is on previous albums. But that is not to say that this is a bad mixtape overall. I think there's some amazing songs on here. The song Bliss with FKA Twigs is probably one of my favorite songs of his. It's amazing. It's infinitely re-listenable. It was one of my #1 streamed songs last year just because of how great it is. I really love the song Waterfall. That's another very emotional ballady track from him. The main single Trip took me a while to get into, but it has a really cool chorus, and it's very kind of a bouncy and fun track. I like both of the Skrillex collabs on here as well. You know, overall I think it's okay, but I think it's not really what I wanted to hear from a Young Lean project, and I'm hoping that whatever he's going to do next is going to be more interesting. I know he just put out a new album under his Jonathan Lindauer 96 sort of alter ego side project, and that was a very interesting album. Even if I didn't really like everything that he was putting forward on that album, I liked the more ballady singing style that he was going for, and some of the more rock elements that he was incorporating into some of those songs. So I'm really interested to see where he goes on his next main project. But for me, Stardust was a bit of a letdown, so I'm going to put it here in the C tier. I would say it's around a 6 out of 10. So yeah, that's my final Young Lean ranking. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you disagree. Tell me I'm a complete and utter idiot. Do whatever you want with this information of how I rank Young Lean's albums and mixtapes, and I hope to see you soon in future content. I'm trying to actually make content because I went on a bit of a break for a while, so I'm just trying to get back into the swing of it. It took me a little while, but I have a decent number of videos planned for this channel, and as for the main channel, I'm sort of working on developing something. So we'll see what happens with that. Other than that, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you aren't already. Make sure to like the video, comment down below, blah, 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 blah. You don't give a shit. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.